1944, Lily Ebert was taken from her home in Hungary to Auschwitz. Tragically, her mother, sister and brother were all killed, but incredibly, Lily survived. Following an astonishing recovery from coronavirus earlier this year, Lily has become an author and social media star. Gargi Patel reports on an incredible survivor. She joins us alongside her great-grandson, Dove Foreman. Look, occasionally there are stories where I don't know where to start because there are just so many amazing elements to it. I'll start with the book. It's called Lily's Promise, How I Survived Auschwitz and Found the Strength to Live. How did that come about? Lily, how did the book come about?
We thought, if I speak a lot for today, for different community, but how will the next community hear about it? And the best way is to write it down. Write down the story, have a book, then people can, the next generation can read it and know about it.
So it's about educating...
Educating the people. Because I find it something like that, but it happened to our generation, I think it never happened in the history, and I hope never will happen again. In our time, in 21st century, they built something, a factory, but not to produce, to kill people. And I hope that the world will not... I am here tell the world what can happen when we are not tolerant with each other. When we think somebody is worth more than somebody else. We must know that all of us are the same. That is the first thing. Nobody is superior to somebody else. And we learn this lesson, then the world would be a much nicer place to live in. And we hope we will. Because that is the only way when we want to live in peace in this world, what belongs not to one people more than to the other, that belongs to us, all of us, humanity. And we should know that.
Lily, it's a really important message that you're telling everybody with this book. Dov, I know that you helped to write this book, didn't you? And you've obviously been inspired by your great-grandmother. It's interesting because, you know, when something that horrific happens, there are those people who wouldn't want to think about it, talk about it, and there are those people who, you know, obviously, like your great-grandmother, want to talk about it, as she was saying, to make sure that this doesn't happen again, to make sure people realise the horror of what went on. Yes, it's incredibly important, and that's why I decided to help my great-grandmother write this book. And it was really in the lockdown when it occurred to me how there isn't a long time left. My great-grandmother's 97, and there really aren't many survivors left. And so I really realised that we have to write this story down so that it's around forever. And what's really important to note is that Lily's story is not the typical story of the Holocaust, because the typical story is not told. The typical story involves the obliteration of entire families, villages or communities by gas, guns or starvation. And so it really is so important to learn from the survivors that we do have and to share their story. And as you say, there are people that cannot talk, but the ones that do, we have to make sure that their story is told to millions. Lily, how can you tell us how you managed to survive when so many others didn't? What happened?
The truth is, when they took us, it doesn't begin with killing, the Holocaust. The Holocaust begins really only with word. First, they took us only in the ghettos, and from there, from the ghettos, we were already together, and from there, they took us to the camps. The aim was really Not that after 75 years later, I should be in the studio and talk the world what really happened. Not that was the aim. But my aim was, I promised myself, if I survive, it was not a lot of, I hope that it will happen, but I promised, if I survive, I will tell the world what happened. And I kept my promise.
Well, you
My
certainly
book is
did.
also written, The Promise. I promised that because it happened in 21st century, the biggest crime in the history. Why I say, how can I say the biggest crime? Because they built a factory. The killing was all the time, and it carries on. But to build a factory, to kill the whole Jewish people they wanted to kill, that never happened. And thank God I survived, and I can keep my word and tell the world, be careful. Know some very important thing. Nobody is superior to somebody else. Be tolerant with each other, help each other, and instead killing, teach people to be good human beings. That should be our aim. And I kept it.
We've got to pick up on this incredible part of the story where you were handed a note, weren't you? A banknote signed by one of the American soldiers. We can see it here, who was one of the people that came to rescue you. And Dov, you wanted to try to track down the person who had done this, which you would just think would be impossible. But actually, for all those people who kind of knock social media, it was because of that, wasn't it, that you were able to?
Yes, so during the lockdown, as I said, it was incredibly hard to see Lily restricted from sharing her story with the world. And so I asked her to show me some things that I could share onto social media. And one of the relics she showed me was this German banknote, and it had been inscribed with 10 words of hope, the start to a new life, good luck and happiness. And the moment I saw it, I realised how deeply, how much value it had to Lily and everyone in the world, because it shows the kindness that liberators gave to the survivors just after, and it gave Lily hope after she was liberated. So I wanted to share it on Twitter, and I remember joking with Lily that I'll find the soldier within 24 hours. And I posted it, and the tweet went viral, and it turned into an international hunt for the soldier. And we managed to find him within 8 hours, and it was just an incredibly special moment to be able to reunite with them.
Lily, how did you feel about this? Obviously, this is such an important item for you, isn't it? It meant so much. And to then be reunited with the family of the person that had given you this.
It is an impossible possibility. That is what I can say. It is a miracle, really, that it could happen. And you cannot explain with words what it meant. Because something like that, I know it is not only for me, it is for the whole world, really. From this story, if you listen, you can feel never, ever give up in life. Because for me, it looked already, I don't know how many, I survived a place, but it was Auschwitz Birkenau. They said there one thing, you can go out of here, over it, only through the chimney. That it means you will be killed. And I survived. When I am here today, I think, why I am here when millions have not survived? And I think, maybe, I am sure, I had some
Role
to play. I have to tell, I am really someone, the first generation, who knows, who really it happened to me. Nobody tells my story. I tell the story, and it happened. And it happened not long ago. And we should learn from it. That is what it's my aim, and should be to everybody aim, that we should live in peace with each other.
Yeah, and we could see when you met the family of the soldier, I mean, you were so excited, and quite rightly so. Anybody would be, but you're on the right of the screen there. I mean, look at the smile on your face. What did it feel like talking to them?
What did it feel like talking to the family of the soldier who liberated you and being able to speak to them?
In a way, I spoke to them, but I don't believe that something like that can happen. And it happened.
Yeah.
It was unbelievable. It gave me strength that these men who helped me, who liberated, in their family, I get also in touch.
Yeah. I wonder what he would say, looking down on you.
You cannot. I was there, and I cannot tell. You cannot explain this feeling.
Yeah. I started the interview saying you sort of don't know where to start because there are so many elements to it. So, Dob, Lily had coronavirus and beat it. I'm trying to sum it up. That's sort of two of the biggest threats to life ever. You know, the Holocaust and coronavirus, and she took them on and beat them both. And that's sort of an interesting tale in the story of writing the book, isn't it? Tell us about it.
Yes, so it was terrifying when Lily had corona. We weren't sure whether she would get over it. And miraculously, she did. And I went to her when she was in her first stages of recovery, when we were still not sure how well she would recover. And I showed her the first half of the book, which we had written and we'd finished around January time. And I wasn't sure whether we'd be able to finish it, so I wanted to show her and hope that it would give her strength. And she kind of sat up a bit and she said to me, right, I have to recover, we have to finish the book. And I think it just sums her up. She's a fighter, she's a survivor, and she always has hope, and she's so positive. And as you can see today, she's just always smiling, and I think it's an amazing story, and I hope people can learn so much from the book and from her as a person and all her messages.
It is truly inspirational, and we know that you're inspiring young people as well. You're a TikTok star with followers of more than 1.3 million, so bringing your message to the next generation as well via that medium as well as the book. And it's got a foreword here by the Prince of Wales, no less, which, which is pretty special, isn't it? What an amazing thing to have done, that you kept this promise, Lily, after all those years, to spread the message. And we're so honoured to have you here in the studio, so huge thank you for coming in.
And thank you for you to give the opportunity.
Thank you. Yeah. And thank you, Dov, as well.
Thank you.
It's great to meet you.